Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in to the Java application from scratch video set. This is the video on, we're doing the second controller here, which is going to be the account creation scene controller. But there's one thing we got to do that I didn't I didn't do when we created our account. So let's just really quick go back to the account class here, and we're going to make two public static variables. Public static methods, I'm sorry, to check the validity of the username, and to check the validity of the password. And we want the password. So we want the password here. I wrote it up here. We want the first the username. We want the first. Excuse me. The first character has to be a letter. It needs to be at least 5 characters in length, and it needs to contain at least one number. And so that's pretty easy to do. First thing we can do is just check. We use the character class. We do character.isAlphabetic username char at character at index 0, which is the first index since it's an array. And if that's the case, return false. Else, well, we don't even need to use else because that's just a return statement. Actually, I'm sorry. So here we're going to have a variable called letter count, which we really don't even need. We're just doing this because we're just doing this for just because it's easy. There's definitely like a redundancy in here that I can work out. I don't know if anybody finds like if anybody is able to do come up with a better way, just leave it in the comments or something, and I'll definitely check it out. I'm always looking for a better way to do stuff. So we want to check if the length is less than 5, and if it is, we return false. Now, since we've made it this far, we can start incrementing through the list. And that's going to be, so we're going to start with I equals 1. Whoops, I'm sorry. We're going to start with I equals 1 because we already know, since I is iterating through the string, but it only has to start at the second element, the second index, which would be obviously index 1, not 0, and not 2. Because we've already checked the character at index 0. We know it's, at this point, if we've made it to this line, we know that this is a letter and not a number. So we start at 1, where I is less than username dot length, increment I by 1 with each iteration, and we're going to have an if statement here. That's going to check if the character is alphabetic damn it a char at I, and you're going to increment letter count. Else, if it's a digit, number count plus. Else, in any other case, return false. And now we're out of this for loop, so we can do one more check, one final check for the count. Oh, I don't know what am I dog is whining. Oops. Return. Oh, that's probably somebody coming to the door, delivering food or something. Okay, so these are all going to return false if any of these are true. If any of these are the case. In any other case, we're going to return true. I'll just format that real quick. And this is going to be our username is valid checker. And this is static, so we can call it from any other class without having to create an object of account. We don't have to create an account object. We can just use the checker from anywhere. Well, I went to see what my dog was whining about, and she was whining because the bag of treats was left on the counter, and she could see them. Had to move those. So I did give her a little chip, though. I had a thing of Tostitos. Gave her a little Tostito. Alright, so now we just got to check to see if the password is valid. And this is even easier. So we're just going to have two checks here. We'll do if the character is not a letter. Because we want, for this too, we also want it to be, we want the first letter to be, so I keep saying that. The first character to be a letter. And it just has to be five characters in length. Could be anything. Could be any special characters. Doesn't have to have numbers. It can have numbers. Doesn't matter. Return true in any other case. Format that real quick. Okay, now we have those, and now we're going to go to our controller, create scene controller. Basically, we're just going to do a lot of the same stuff we did here in our main scene controller. We're going to implement initializable interface. We're going to give it a account bag. It's going to have this initialize method because we're implementing the initializable interface. Yeah, it's going to be pretty straightforward, you'll see. The only one that's going to be a little bit of work is the create button clicked when obviously the user clicks the create button. So first off, we need to have it implement initializable. It's going to yell at me, tell me to add the unimplemented methods. We're going to get rid of this and do this, drag it up to the top. Whoops, below the variables, sorry. Okay. And we're going to have our account bag, because we want to have this accessible between all scenes. I'm going to change the names here just for consistency. Private account bag. Okay, so now we just have to do the create button clicked. I'm also going to move this up above the other one. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is have a string for the username. And we'll call it username, and we'll have it be text field enter username.getText. Get text, and we'll have another one. We'll do this down here. So we just have these so we don't have to call these big long things in the guts of the code. We can just, you know, call username, password, confirm password, and those will be the values in there. And we're gonna, just like we did in the other class, we're gonna have our two private methods, so we can condense a little bit. And I know I've said this like 1,000 times already. I know there's better ways to do these GUI, like these commands for the GUI objects and stuff like that. Like, I know there's better ways to do it. I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm just worried about the functionality of the program for right now. So there is going to be some redundancy. But again, it's not going to, any redundancy isn't going to affect any of the functionality of the code. It's all just going to be you know, display type stuff. There's nothing, it's not really that important. Alright, I just had to go and play with her for a minute. I had to go, you know, throw a little ball around and run around the living room for a minute. Now she's okay. Alright, so, she is an awesome dog. A little spoiled, but, you know, that's what dogs are there for. Okay, and this one's gonna have text field text field enter username dot clear, and then we got password enter. Wait, oops. Dot clear. Confirm password dot clear. That's it. Okay. Okay, so now we gotta make a, we just gotta set the defaults of this. Alert message dot set visible false. So we want it to be false to be not visible by default. And then we want to set the text fill to Alright. Now we're just going to do our checks. These are our checks for the credentials and whatever. We're just going to call the static methods from the account class. So, like, yeah, pretty much all of that's already in there. We just have to do else, you know, if, else, if, blah, 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 and then display messages and stuff. And then at the very end, our last thing will just be else create the new account and insert it into the the account bag. All right, so the first thing we're going to check is if it's blank, if any of the fields are blank. Dot is blank, or password dot dot is blank. Oh god, she's whining again. I'll have to go and play with her in a second. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Password confirm is blank. Okay. If any of those are blank, we're gonna say display alert message. All fields are required. Else if account bag dot contains username, the one that's being entered into the field, display alert message that username already exists. Please try again. Right? If the account bag contains the username we're trying to create, it ain't gonna let them do it. Else if, and this is where we start calling the statics. Account dot username is valid. Username. So if it's not valid, because remember we did the exclamation point here. So if it's not valid, we're going to do display, whoops, display alert message password. We'll start with a letter. Oh my god. We have numerics. We have at least one number. Okay. Else if the password's not valid, so the password, whoops, keeps doing that. Oh, whoops. This is supposed to be username, I'm sorry. Else if this is to see if the passwords match. Password dot whoops equals password confirm. Is there an extra thing here? Display alert message. Else if, I'm sorry, not even else if, just else. So this is in the case that everything else checks out, none of these things happen, and everything checks out. The credentials are all good. The password's valid. The password and the password confirm match up, and the username's valid, and none of the fields are blank, obviously. So this is when we create the new account and just insert it into the bag. So let's just do clear all text fields first. Then we'll set the text fill. We'll set the text fill of it to green, to that green color that we got before. Let them know that they successfully logged in. Display alert message. Oops. And now finally, accountbag.insert. Oh, oops. New account, sorry. New account, passing it, username, and password. Because that's what we did in our constructor, right? Pass 2 strings, username and password, then sets these two, username and password. Okay. So we have our account bag here. Now we just got to do our, and we have our create button clicked. Now we have to do our back button clicked. And we're going to do that in the, well, we're going to take care of that in a future video, either the next one or the one after that. Right now, in the video after this, we're going to move on to, so we're probably just going to tackle all of that in the next video. When we create our application class, and just tie everything together nicely, keep it persistent across all the scenes, and then, you'll be able to load it and save it and do all that good stuff. So, if you like the video, hit subscribe and like, please. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.